Kings.
Well, I have the pleasure of welcoming in studio with me this morning some of the cast and crew of that movie. Frank Solomon himself joins us in studio. Also, Peter Hamlin, he's the director of that movie, as well as Andrew Mackay, he's the creative director as well. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Well,
Morning.
I mean, Frank, I guess the first question is, you're 13-year-old. What happened?
I don't know. I was just always intrigued by bigger waves, and as the waves got bigger and bigger, the guys just made me go out more and more. And yeah.
So they said, we'll give you $10 if you go out to the back waves.
Yeah, I think it was just more of like an initiation thing, you know, get out there, and I just always enjoyed being out in bigger waves. So.
And so you went out, and then what happened?
I went out, I caught a big wave, and I got 10 rand, and I bought ice cream. So, yeah.
And now this translates into a movie. I mean, how does that 15 years or 13 years or however long it was translate into that?
I think when I finished school and finished studying, I wanted to do something a little bit different, you know, and pursued surfing big waves. And obviously, as a South African, it's pretty hard to travel on like the South African rand. And I just kind of hustled my way around the world for about 8 or 9 years, and then bumped into Peter in a bar one evening, kind of told him my story and what I'd been doing, and he was like, "Oh, we should make a movie about that. Call it Let's Be Frank."
Amazing. I mean, excuse my ignorance, but in terms of big wave surfing as opposed to just surfing, is it just the whole thrill of getting those massive waves and doing it once? I mean, just trying to stay alive, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different to small wave surfing. The waves don't really get big that often, so that's the trickiest part, trying to get the biggest day, and then on that day you have to perform and catch the biggest waves. And yeah, it's an amazing feeling being out there in huge waves, no one really around, and it's a very peaceful place to be.
Sure. Or scary, one or the other. Peter, I mean, just looking at some of the visuals here, I mean, a difficult task to undertake in terms of shooting it, in terms of getting that big wave. You don't want to miss it, right?
Yeah, 100%. From the surfing perspective, I think it's one of the hardest things to kind of capture, because it's the total unknown. You can never plan it correctly. So from a surfing perspective, we spent a lot of time traveling around the world with Frank, putting different filmers on him, hoping to capture that moment. Sometimes we missed that moment, other times we actually got it. But then the other side of the film was very structured and scripted, and allowed us a lot more time to kind of sculpt the film, really.
I'll get to the storyline. Andrew, you'll maybe give us some more insight into the creative aspect to it. I mean, camera angles and trying to capture that moment and get the essence. I mean, looking at some of these pictures, it's incredible how you've done it. How did you do it?
So yeah, Pete and I I was brought on as a kind of creative director to look at, amongst other things, like help with the continuity of the movie. So yeah, Pete would decide on angles, and then we would discuss, you know, how a particular scene looks, you know, the kind of layout and all that type of thing, as well as from like the design of all the kind of printed assets, the kind of looks of the posters. Like, I think across the whole movie, we've tried to, you know, have this thread, this common thread that kind of, you know, cuts across all of those things. Yeah.
Without giving too much away, Frank, what is the storyline? I read here, it says it's based on the supposed double life of South African big wave surfer. Without giving too much away, what is the double life?
I think every year, the double life is that every year I spend winter in South Africa and then go to the Northern Hemisphere and spend winter there. So I kind of disappear from South Africa for about 6 months. And the double life, I guess, is what happens to me while I'm on these trips and go overseas. And Peter just took a creative way of explaining those different trips that I go on.
Yeah, it's a preconceived idea of through social media and stuff, who we thought Frank was. Especially on the South African rand, seeing Frank like in all the publications, he's traveling and stuff. We were like, how's this guy doing this? And that night when I met him, it was like, man, I was asking him questions, thinking he had massive sponsors involved, thinking he either had very wealthy parents, and that wasn't the case. And so I love the juxtaposition between what was perceived reality and what was reality. And that's where the double life came in. It's like we see something and we believe that's what it is, but then there's a whole other side to the story.
How did you do it? I mean, how did you finance it?
I was just hustling. I worked numerous jobs overseas. I was delivering vegetables, cutting down Christmas trees, waiter, construction work. I don't know, anything I had to do. It wasn't really, at the time while I was doing it, I was just doing it because that's what I had to do to surf. You know, everyone has to work, so I didn't really like make a big deal about it. But I learned so much during those 8 years of hustling and, you know, sleeping on people's couches, sleeping on the floor, having no money, like being overseas, and taught me many valuable life lessons.
Andrew, I'll come to you now. Peter, in terms of the South African music industry, movie industry, it's a 50-minute film. It's not a sort of full-length film. Why did you go this route? Why not make it into a full-length? And is it a sort of more of a movie or a documentary, would you say?
I'd say it's like a fiction, non-fiction kind of film, feature film, and in the world of surfing, it fits into the feature genre. But originally, after that conversation, I'd only had experience in producing like 15-minute pieces. So it was originally supposed to be a short film. It was supposed to be something that took us 3 weeks to produce and create. And after meeting Frank and talking to him, I realized there's just more legs to the story. And we wanted to push ourselves as filmmakers. So what's originally set out to be 3 weeks became 3 years. And it's just, that's what it was. It was just us kind of like really trying to push boundaries with every kind of scene and whatever we were doing. So, yeah.
Andrew, how big is the crew? I mean, what did you have to work with in this?
I think in the traveling crew, because we went to so many different destinations, and the crew is surprisingly very small. It's basically us, a DP, director of photography, and his assistant. And yeah, and on most of the kind of traveling shots, the shots that you see shot outdoors, that was pretty much the kind of core crew. And then we obviously have scenes that are shot in studios where we have, you know, a lot more people. But it was, yeah, a very small crew of guys, yeah.
I guess what it's all about now is getting it out there, getting people to watch it. Where can people watch it? Where can South Africans who are watching us now?
Well, at the moment we're screening it. We actually just screened it in Los Angeles, and we had such a great reception to the film. It was incredible. Like, for us to be South Africans and then to be in California and having these like 500 people rock up and really celebrate the film was amazing. We are doing our South African premiere on the 9th of September in Cape Town. Then we're in Durban on the 11th of September, and we go to London, and then we go to San Sebastian, and on the 19th of September it gets screened on Red Bull TV, which is will be free for everyone to watch, which is pretty exciting.
Frank, you're a professional big wave surfer, in essence. That's your profession, right? I mean, but you're also now an actor. I mean, how did you sort of amalgamate the two? Was it easy? I mean, you see these actors, and there's plenty of surfing movies out there, sort of trying to mix the two of your story, but being a professional big wave surfer, I mean, but being in front of the cameras, is that right?
It was okay. I've had a little bit of experience before in front of the camera. But yeah, I was saying to Pete, like, no one ever, being even an athlete or someone, no one ever trains you to be in front of the camera, you know, they're just like, here we go, do this, be in front of the camera.
Tell me about it.
So there were some very challenging moments, especially there's a fight scene, there's a couple of snippets of it there, but I'd never done like a choreographed scene like that, and I went to London for 2 weeks and trained with the guys from Vikings. They came over they were filming in Ireland, and spent 2 weeks with them in a basement choreographing the scene, and I felt a lot of pressure then because there was a big set. There was 50 people. We had invested a huge amount on that scene, and on the day I had to perform. So that was definitely the most challenging part.
I also read you broke your back. Is that right? Tell us a little bit about that.
I did. I was surfing in Ireland. We were busy filming, and I landed on the bottom and broke my L2 vertebrae. And
is this while you were filming for this?
I was, yeah. I was there to surf to get footage for the movie, and I broke my back, which is, yeah, it wasn't a very, highlighted point right then. But I phoned Pete and I was like, hey, Pete, I broke my back. And he was like, can you still do the fight scene? I'm like, So, you know, we've had an amazing time. Like Pete and Andrew said, there was Matthew Day, Toby Goodyear, and us two, and Frankie Fogg, and guys at Red Bull, guys at Hurley, and everyone's just been really supportive. And like Pete said, when I went to LA and had all these people that came out to see me and Pete, and we like two South Africans in California, you know, it was really like a humbling experience to be there, and we were really proud that we'd made something as South Africans.
Amazing. And I mean, looking at the sort of style of the movie, I mean, it's quite different. You started off with like a hot dog and tomato sauce and mustard. I mean, just explain to the viewers sort of the style of this.
So I think you'll notice when you watch a movie, the kind of how the kind of scene looks kind of changes throughout the movie, and you'll see when you watch the movie that there's this conspirator, this voice that talks through the movie, and he's the person that thinks Frank is a con man of sorts. So, and when he talks about the movie, he kind of pulls reference from things that he's seen. So you'll notice throughout the movie that the style actually drifts in and out and changes. Yeah. It's
Frank, what's the biggest wave you've surfed? I guess bottom line.
5 foot.
That's a tough question. Depends how you're measuring it, but I don't know. Probably the biggest waves that I've surfed in Jaws in Hawaii. Yeah.
But like how big?
A number. I don't know, like 40, 50 feet. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't like to put a number on it. It's hard to tell.
But you feared for your life on a number of occasions.
You definitely have fear, but it's like a calculated risk because I've been out there and surfing my whole life. So, it looks really dangerous. It is dangerous, but it's not as dangerous as people think. If you've been out there for I've been surfing big waves for 20 years, you definitely get used to being in those types of situations.
Well, it's a pleasure having you guys here. We'll let our viewers know when they can actually see that film Red Bull TV. Also, the premieres Red Bull TV. That's on the 19th of September. There are also other dates around South Africa as well that you can get on and check it out. It's proudly South African. That's the most important thing here. Chatting to Frank Solomon. He's the big wave surfer and he's an actor. Peter Hamblin is the director of this movie. Andrew Mackie is the creative director of it. And it's certainly, if you're into this kind of movie, it really is fascinating viewing, and it's proudly South African. So we'll let you know more about when those viewings are going to be shown around the country, and it's a pleasure having them in studio.